How's it going? My name is Andrew Smith. I am a sophomore at Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and this is a book that I'm reading for our course material, EDU 104, The Absolute Diary of a Part-Time Indian. I was taking anecdotes and notes, basically on things that I found important to remember or keep track of. And this book was so great. I actually wanted to take a lot more notes, but the whole book would have ended up outlined. But so I chose to focus on things that I didn't know about, like in chapter 1. That I didn't know about, but I felt like it was important to remember. Historical facts, quotes, philosophies. And this one, the Black Eye of the Month Club, learned, and on the very first page, I learned that the cerebral spine fluid is a fancy way of saying brain grease. It goes more into it. Basically, it looked like Junior had a flooding of the brain, and this is what the doctors decided to label it as through technical terms. On the second page, I labeled it something I learned about tooth pain through reading this book. And it says, first of all, I ended up having 42 teeth. Typically, humans have 32 teeth, and 42 is 10 more than usual. This is something I didn't know. Also, I wasn't aware that in this time and age that dentists believe that Indians felt less than half the pain of a white person or probably any other person. I thought that was outrageous and ridiculous. I felt like that was something that definitely needed to be noted. Excuse that. It was my alarm. Okay, so Adam and Eve. Okay, so these are my notes on Adam. In this section, the author wrote about Adam and Eve and how them covering their private parts, as depicted through history, kind of relates to the Indians covering their private parts. I thought that was pretty interesting. The first Indians covered their private parts with their tiny hands, but I was thinking that might have been what Adam and Eve were actually covering their private parts with. I have some more notes here. But this is how I actually ended up taking my notes. Like there were facts and figures that made sense, that actually caught my attention, that I felt would be relevant to each chapter. I must have missed the labels. These are all my labels. So if I actually wanted to come back to my book and see exactly, I thought this was kind of funny. I think this is chapter 2. I want to say. The Adam and Eve chapter. What was it called? Oh no, this would be chapter 3. It was. Okay, either way, this is a portion of dialogue that that the author or the protagonist, Junior, would be speaking about masturbation, and expresses his feelings and shows a lot about his personal interest and character. I thought that was pretty interesting and, quite frankly, realistic and hilarious at the same time. Let me see, where are we going here? My next annotations, I'll go a little bit deeper. Junior this is on his trip to go to Riordan. Well, on his expedition to his campaign, I want to say, that's a better word, to go to Riordan School. And obviously, since he's Indian, his parents are a little reticent because of, or actually more than that, but they support him all the same. But he makes a point. I took note of this because makes a point of exposing the reasons behind why he shouldn't go, and how this line here, and when he asks, um, who has the most hope as a person or demographic of individuals, and his parents say white people. Well, that shows that their way of thinking, way of life, stereotypically for their situations, how they've lived, says that that's their belief. But um, he goes on to explain that Raritan is a rich school that has that is a white farm town, and it's only 22 miles away from the reservation. As a kid, you probably wouldn't understand the strife of and everything that goes into getting your kids there, or getting a kid back and forth to school. But in the end, his parents respected his wishes and made it happen for him. Even though they did not agree, they did it anyway. I'm going to skip ahead to the last chapter. There's a lot more notes and annotations I've taken, but I'm over the limit now, and I don't want to get in trouble for doing that. I'm gonna go to the last chapter here. I think it's the chapter before last. Okay, well, this is just how I took my annotations, and if okay, yep, this is the very last chapter. These are the last words. I feel like this is always important to record, because in retrospect, everybody, I feel like when you're reading a book, you want to know what happens in the end. Whether you're reading a book or you're watching a movie or a TV show, if you start a story in any way, shape, or form, you want to finish it. So when you get to the end, you want to know what it came down. And the main characters in this story was Junior and his best friend, Rowdy. And this reaction from Rowdy says a lot to me about his character and how he handles certain situations. He doesn't give negative reinforcement, but he also gives positive reinforcement, in my opinion, saying, hey, you know what, like he gives this attitude saying, stop crying, now quit your blubbering, basically saying, I don't want to hear your complaints, that doesn't matter. And to me, it's saying, Rowdy is saying, hey, look, we're going to be friends regardless, so quit all that crybaby stuff, and all the sadness and false nostalgia, and just let's get on with our lives and keep it moving. And basically, it tells me that Rowdy's a good person, and he forgives him, because everybody has their own choices. And that was, and the fact that they didn't keep score. Friends don't need to keep score. That meant a lot. Those last 4 words there, that means a lot. Real friends, real relationships, you don't have to keep score. You just do. You just exist with these people. So, yeah, those are my annotations. I'm sorry that I went over my time, but there was so much to pay attention to, so much to talk about, that I felt like I needed to say all this and let it be known how I felt. Thank you.